You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Welcome to Built to Convert, the podcast where we explore how strategy, analytics, and creativity come together to drive meaningful growth. I'm your host, Tyler Lane, founder of Session Interactive, and each episode we sit down with marketers, founders, and operators who are building real momentum inside today's most interesting companies. This episode is brought to you by Session Interactive, the performance marketing agency for brands that are serious about growth. Whether you're in B2B, SaaS, DTC, e-commerce, or anywhere in between, we help marketing teams cut through the noise with smarter SEO, paid media, AI integration, analytics that actually drive revenue. Learn more at sessioninteractive.com. All right, guys, I say I'm excited a lot. This is different, right? This is a different level. Matt Green in the house, co-founder and chief strategy officer, at Juris Digital, one of the most established SEO and digital marketing agencies focused exclusively on law firms. Let's just say they've niched down, okay? Which I love, and we'll talk more about that. He has spent over a decade building campaigns, developing strategy, and making the case that brand clarity and genuine expertise are not soft additions to SEO. They are the work. Today, we're getting into what it looks like in practice, where search is headed, and why Matt thinks most SEOs are still sitting at the wrong table. Uh-oh. There is some stuff we're going to unpack. Matt, good to see you.
I'm controversial.
Yes.
I'm controversial.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you. I know we just saw each other. Matt and I met up when I was out in Chicago speaking at the Digital Summit out there. It was great to see him. Welcome.
Or as you said on LinkedIn, a real city.
Yes. That was part to stir up some controversy, part to get some likes, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're a brilliant marketer. Well, we could expect nothing less.
Exactly. Yeah. It should have just, call out the city you live in, call it trash. That really works really well.
Yeah.
So Matt and I,
thanks for having me, Tyler.
Oh, great to see you, man. Yeah. We've known each other for a while. Obviously in similar industries. Let's go back a little bit and talk about some of the kind of career origin evolution, kind of where you started. We don't need to go through A to Z, but I'd love to just unpack kind of, you started ethical SEO consulting, blog writer, and within a year you're running operations. What did that acceleration tell you about the industry, and what was actually missing within the industry?
Yeah, I'll try to give you some of the entertaining points of my career.
Love it.
So right out of college, I had like a desk job at this company doing very like office space style work, just passing files back and forth. And they gave me a promotion. And what that entailed was they gave me basically no more money, but double the amount of work. So then they sent me on a business trip to like take over a big client from one of their other branches. And I was like in the middle of like a 2-week stretch of working like 60 hours a week. And I just basically had like a panic attack and I quit. And then I got home from that trip and I was like, 23 years old without a job. And I was like, what am I going to do? I like writing. And I went on to Craigslist and I was like, writer. And then I saw a post for a blog writer at a SEO company. And I was like, I don't know what SEO is, but I know what a blog is and I know what writing is. So let me apply to this. I went and met Casey for the first time, my partner, Casey Mraz, who's the founder of the company. And he hired me for $10 an hour to write blog posts. And so I started toiling away, writing blog posts for roofing companies and plumbers and the like. But through that, I learned SEO and I was like, this is amazing. This is like a way of marketing that's non-interruptive. You can just make good content. It can answer a question. People go onto Google, they ask the question, you show up, you get money. Everybody wins. And so I kind of fell in love with it. And I, because I was desperate and I was also delivering pizzas on the side, I took it very seriously. And I learned SEO. I learned the business. I told Casey that he needed to fire his friends because they were his friends, and you shouldn't have your friends on the payroll, especially when they're just kind of goofing off. And I was very desperate to pay rent. So I kind of I snaked my way into like kind of running the operations of the company. I went to MozCon in 2012 and I saw Will Reynolds talk about real company shit. And that took us from a company, like a typical 2010s SEO company that didn't really do anything very impressive or anything that you'd want to tell your mom about, to like, oh, we need to actually be like marketers. Like we need to be having like business discussions with our clients, like not just talking about links and content and, oh, we're going to like go on Fiverr and get you a footer link on whatever. Like we need to remove ourselves from the kiddie table of marketing and do real marketing. And so that kind of set the trajectory for where we went. Sometime around 2015, we looked up and we were like, all our best clients are lawyers. They understand paying for a service. They understand paying for expertise. We have great case studies with them. Let's niche into that. Came up with the name Juris Digital, and we went full bore into that. And that was a good decision. So that maybe is takeaway number one from this podcast is niches are good decisions.
Shout out to Casey Mraz, just a fixture around the SEO community here in Denver. And obviously your co-founder, done a lot of cool stuff, and I've been connected with him for a while. And then obviously, like, I love that reflection on Will Reynolds at MozCon. I mean, Will still is such a ridiculously active practitioner at Seer. Shout out to Seer, always, such a great institution over there, and continue to be led by Will. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So I owe most of my career to Casey, one of the most brilliant SEOs I've ever known, and like just a brilliant entrepreneur. He has everything that I lack on that side of things. And then Will Reynolds is like, he is like the ethos of like how I do everything in SEO. So that's what I loved about the field too. When I got into it, is like how like you can stand on the shoulders of giants because people just share so freely. And that inspired me to take that same kind of approach, and hopefully somebody out there has gotten this like similar value from work that I've put out, and that's all we can hope for.
It's awesome. Yeah, I think I was going to unpack like the niching down, because I think a lot of agency owners and others just are a bit afraid, or there's some maybe trepidation or intimidation to do that. Hey, if we go all into legal, or we're going to limit these other brands that are maybe paying us well, but we don't have multiple clients, we have one or two. What was your thought process, and was it daunting at the time, or was it just made sense that you said like majority of your clients were lawyers, let's double down and we can expand upon that?
It was daunting at the time because we had a lot of clients who weren't lawyers, and we were basically like forfeiting them, right? Like, and obviously it's business, you have to do it in an ethical way, but we were like we're basically going to let these clients we're going to go through this attrition to get to the point where we're only working with lawyers, and then we can do that. So like that part of it was definitely daunting, but I wasn't, I think we saw the benefits of like being able to speak to one person, right? Like it's very hard to do marketing and like talk to a lot of different people. Whereas if I can if every blog post I write can be specific to the problems of a very specific person, that has so much more impact than like trying to be the SEO company that speaks to everyone. And so what we found is just that like we got like our number of leads we were generating increased massively when we were able to really like speak to that one audience versus trying to massage our stuff to kind of be relevant to everybody.
Yeah, I get it. It's and then the classic thing is you're going up against an agency that is not necessarily specific to that niche, and it is broad. You should theoretically win every time, if especially
instant value proposition. Yeah,
exactly. We are focused on this. Let's transition here a little bit, and then we'll get into kind of the meat of kind of some of the arguments around kind of where SEO is evolving and where we're heading. Obviously, we'll talk about AI and certain things like that. You've been critical on how SEOs position themselves and their value. What do you first notice that pattern, Matt, in terms of kind of the discipline as a wide open problem rather than a handful of kind of bad actors? I think there's you and I have experienced a ton of snake oil over the years. You've also, I'm assuming, dealt with clients that have immense level of skepticism associated with the SEO service, especially because at this point everyone's been burned at some point, right?
Yeah.
Unpack that a little bit, and then we'll transition into other questions.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to like what Will Reynolds was talking about with his real company stuff talk. Like, I think SEOs put themselves at the kiddie table of marketing when we fail to like talk about business metrics, and instead we talk about like optimizing title tags and building links and like things that are like a means to an end, but they're not the end. And what I see that doing is like limiting the things we can actually charge our clients for. Because when all you've ever talked to a client about is internal linking, and we need to go through and use AI to update the first sentence of every post and all of this sort of gimmicky, hacky stuff, then you don't get to do like really cool things like, hey, we want to come into your business and get all your data on rejection rates for mortgage loans or whatever. And we're going to use that to like create this ultimate guide of what it looks like to be qualified for a mortgage at a certain percentage or whatever. And we're going to create this non-commoditized content that will drive traffic in this way, and we think is going to convert it this way. Like when you talk about kiddie table SEO stuff, you're not going to be taken seriously when you then try to talk about that stuff, like the stuff that really moves the needle and that is like really impactful. So even on my own team, like I see our people being hesitant to have those bigger conversations and to just go to a client and say, how's business? What are the bottom line numbers looking like? Let's review your leads and see which one of them are good so we can reverse engineer that and get to the heart of like what really generates business for you. Instead, it's like we're often hiding behind sort of reports and rank reports and these sort of like middlemen metrics that don't actually speak to what's really going on and finding the truth of the matter.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's so funny. SEOs in general want to strive for perfection on so many aspects of what they do. Let's say like the technical, superiority of a site.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Matt, we know, right? It's like, dude, rising tides lifts all boats kind of component in terms of attribution associated with some of those tasks. But at the end of the day, like, okay, what are these efforts relying and associated with the core KPIs and overarching goals, which are driving leads and generating revenue? And I think it's like, forget all that, the tactical components. I think that's also just let me know your thoughts on this, just how our industry has been shaped for so many years. It's like, oh, SEO is just like, you just follow, a rubric of all the things you just need to go down the checklist. And you look at all these third-party tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs, or their auditing functionality is like, oh yeah, this is a score of 25. You need to improve this to get to 35. And it's just like, at the end, that's not what search engines value. That's what that tool is monetized and trains you up to thinking.
That's right. Yeah. It's always been framed as like a little bit of like this technical hack, right? It's like, you can just kind of take the website you have, implement the trickery, and then profits. And that's just like not true. And by saying that, I'm not trying to downplay, by the way, the importance of technical SEO, because like it matters just as much as ever. And that's a real discipline with like serious people in it, who are smart and doing really like smart things. What I don't like is, I don't view technical SEO as hackery. I view like the hacky stuff as hackery. Like when people are talking about, scaling out content articles that are just written by AI. So like going into Claude and being like, come up with the top 1,000 articles for my niche and then write them and publish them on my site. And then people are like, oh, we've invented programmatic SEO. It's like, you're not looking at the value of the thing. Like, and this is another kind of idea I'm obsessed with right now, is like with creating content or doing any sort of marketing. The question is, if Google didn't exist, would this be worth doing? Right. So like absent Google and search traffic, does this thing provide value to anyone? There's so often that like SEOs are doing things without considering that at all. Right. It's just like the only calculation is like, could this rank and get traffic? Yes, do it. And that the bar has to be raised from there.
There is this level of kind of re-education or expanded education too that hopefully everyone's pursuing at this point, is around, our ultimate, as you mentioned, our fixation on these vanity metrics. It is like, again, ingrained in all of us. I think we can all sit here and say like, yes, we need to change and evolve our expectations and our associated. The KPIs remain fairly similar, but at the end of the day, what are the goals associated with? And likely should be fixated on engagement and conversion value versus impressions or rankings or traffic increasing. But it is wild just how we're all programmed, Matt, right? We just, regardless, we still want to report it to the client that's going up to the right. Regardless, we still want to see our follower count increase, but that's not contributing necessarily, because we can all, I remember talking to you years ago, you're like, I can get any site to rank, but at the same time, we were unpacking it, if you recall, this is a while ago, I'm like, there's not value in that. Right, necessarily. It's the value is around more of the engagement related content that we're delivering and the experience and the associated direct or indirect correlation to conversion value. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wild. Let's transition here a little bit. I'm passionate about this as well. I know you are, just in terms of, you were quoting, I saw your post on LinkedIn the other day from John Selden, a legal blog, as an example of non-commodity content. Unpack that for us a bit, because I spoke at a conference about last year just around kind of the sea of sameness and what we're seeing. And everyone, since Gen AI, a lot of people think they're a junior or even senior copywriter just out of the gate. Oh, I'm good now. We're good. Right. And it's contributed to this overwhelming amount of mediocre content where we're still seeing, and with the sliver, the smallest percentage is the superior excellent content component. It's no longer applicable. You can't have terrible content because you have some level of a framework, hopefully, within AI, but hopefully you're leveraging humans more and more too. What are your thoughts in terms of what's happening in the industry and how what you guys pursue with your client engagements as it relates to try to avoid being a commodity and avoid submitting to the sea of sameness, if you will?
Yeah. I love this topic too. So a couple of weeks ago, Danny Sullivan, anybody who's long time in SEO knows Danny Sullivan, but he's like a search liaison. He works for Google, and then he's like the liaison to the SEO community. So he was putting on a presentation, and somebody snapped a picture of one of his slides that was breaking down, this is commodity content, this is non-commodity content. Google likes non-commodity content. And he kind of had some made up titles, right? So one was like the ultimate guide to like choosing a running shoe. And so that was the commodity example. And then the non-commodity example was like, we analyze 4,000 running shoes to see which one is the most, durable. Here's the results. So that's the non-commodity version. So, so the definition's important. So one is like content that anybody can produce, including AI. And the other relies on like something that like that's proprietary to you. So like your data that you came up with, or your unique insight and perspective as a human, as an expert in that thing. So that's like the difference. You said that like there's this sea of like mediocre content. What's funny is that with AI, there's actually like a sea of good content. Like good is the new bad almost.
Yeah,
like
true. Yeah.
Because you can just go onto AI and you can like make something in no time that's good. It's like, this is good. This is like, it's true information, maybe, as long as we fact check it. It's written well, it's structured well, like it's good. But like what Google's saying is like, that is not good. That is commodity. And so like, we're like, there's a re-education process going on, because I was in this in 2011 when the Panda update happened. And Google like smacked down low quality content, right? So people would like write a single blog post, and they would use what were like these tools called content spinners. And they would just like spin that one piece of content into like 20 pieces of content that all kind of targeted slightly different keyword variations of keywords. And they'd publish that. And it's just like pure spam, just terrible low quality. And so Google smacked that down. And so for the last like decade and a half, we've been like getting better at content because of that, right? It's like, oh, we actually have to make good content. And now we're at a point where like the good content we got to became commoditized, and it raised the floor to this level. But now like that's not good enough. It's like that is what makes you blend in. And I think it's a fun challenge to say like, okay, let's say you're all my references are from lawyers, but let's say you're like a criminal defense lawyer and you do DUI, and you want to rank for like how likely is it that I'll go to jail if I get a DUI? A commoditized piece of content is going to answer that question by citing the law, right? Or the applicable guidelines for sentencing. So on your first DUI, it's unlikely you'll go to jail based on blah, blah, blah. And then you go down from there and maybe you have some FAQs. Non-commoditized content would look like, okay, let's look at our clients that we've represented in the last 5 years, and let's actually figure out how many of them went to jail, right? And so you're using this proprietary data that only you have to present content that is unlike anything else out there. And critically, I'm obsessed with this definition too. Non-commoditized content should reduce uncertainty around the topic, right? So it's like commoditized content just reinforces the consensus. Like this is the answer to this topic. What non-commoditized content does is it reduces the uncertainty that the person has from that starting point. So if you just cite the statute or the guidelines on whether I'll go to jail or not, I can get that from anywhere. If you tell me that we've had 1,000 clients get DUIs in the last 5 years and 2% have gone to jail on their first DUI, that reduces my uncertainty, right? Because now I have this number where I can go, it's unlikely I'm going to jail. Yep. And so like that's like an example of how you could do this sort of non-commodity content. And the other is from like the blog post that you referenced that I was sharing on LinkedIn. He was tackling the topic of like what to do if you get sued by a debt collector. And for one thing, he's just like a good writer, so it was funny. He was like calling the debt collectors like sleaze bags, and you know, once they see your response, they're gonna spit out their coffee onto their 1997 IBM ThinkPad. And so like part of how he like decommoditizes his content is by using his voice and like his talent for writing, and that's a legitimate way to create non-commoditized content. It's just like be the good writer that you are. Use your voice and your wit and your humor. But not everybody has that. And so like there needs to be other ways. But also in that post, he in that humorous way, he walks you through exactly what you can expect when you file your rebuttal in the Texas courthouse. So he said something like, when you go, you know, to file your rebuttal, you'll have to interrupt the clerk from scrolling her TikTok account. You know, you might have to try a couple times to get her attention. She's going to seem really mean, but deep down, she's nice. So like, again, reducing uncertainty, right? Like it's funny, but it's also like, I can now picture myself going through this process. And when I find myself in this situation, I'm going to be less uncertain of what to do next because this picture has been painted for me from someone who's like a subject matter expert. So that's my take on this. And I think it's exciting because it's just an opportunity to do way better stuff and make way better content that isn't like everything else.
Do you find there's a lot of great aspects there? I mean, like the statistical component, own data, like citing your own data insights, whether that's qualitative or quantitative, I think is important. Kind of satire or like the human elements, I think is. Yeah. I thought you were just going to say just remove M dashes and then you're good, right? Right.
No M dashes.
Yeah. Then that's non-commodity. Yeah.
It's not just about the M dashes. Yeah. It's about the.
Yeah.
Jesus.
How do you deal with? So I think this resonates so well, just in terms of what we're dealing with select clients as well, because I think we're always fixated on the human element as much as possible being incorporated and trying to obtain these SME insights from an SME to hopefully better empower that piece of content. So remove any layer of kind of generic insights. How do you deal with a couple things with a client in particular? Well, Matt, I just want to rank for this, right? And we don't have access to some of that data or this or that. And can't you just do AI? Can't you just use AI for all of this? What are you doing? Why do we need to spend money and working with a human? I think talk to me about those type of scenarios and kind of the education that you're supporting and continuing to articulate to your existing clients and prospects for that matter.
Yeah, that's a good question. So like, in terms of the pushback on like, can't we just use AI? I would basically say what I just said, except I would also cite another post that I read recently. The guy's name is Gianluca Fiorelli or something. I just butchered his name. That was terrible. But I shared his article on my LinkedIn page. He's a longtime SEO. He's written for Moz.
International SEO consultant, I think.
Yeah, international SEO guy.
I know.
And he wrote this post on like the information gain, consensus versus information gain, and how AI systems are, what's baked into them is to look for information gain in terms of the things that they cite. So if you just put out consensus content or commodity content, you will be, your information will be synthesized into the AI answer. Like it's good enough to like make it in there, but it will not be cited. It'll only be cited if you are one of the ones adding information gain to the subject area. So like, that's what I would kind of push back with. If they just said, just do it with AI or whatever, it's like, no, that won't work. And so, yeah, we can just like put out a bunch of AI stuff, but like, it's not going to be cited by AI. It's not going to rank because it's like, that's not the way these systems work. So I would say that. And then I would also say like, just from a taste perspective, there's an opportunity to like do good work here, right? Like the way the content you put out is like how people view your business. And wouldn't it just be way better to like make it memorable and make it useful and make it something that like makes people's lives easier, even if they never become a client? Makes a fulfilling life for anyone. And the clients I work with, I'm lucky. I don't really work with like big businesses with lots of bureaucracy. Like I work directly with the owners of law firms. And so I would just kind of say like, how do you want your company to be viewed? And how do you want yourself to be viewed? What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want to be the guy that just like did the same thing as everybody else? Or do you want to like do something fun?
Sure. Yeah. What's good enough versus what's really going to push things. Yeah. It's fascinating by that whole thing. A couple of things that come to mind, citations with AI. Interesting, right? There's been a whole, okay, we got to create listicles, we got to get listed on these things. And I'll be honest, a lot of the citations that we're seeing that are coming up for various prompts are pretty bad, right? In terms of the quality, it's not following the standard as of yet. I'm not going to say Google values domain authority, as that's a third-party metric, but the general authority of sites is not nearly as applicable as it is for SEO versus what's happening within LLM search. So what are your thoughts on that? I know there's a lot of companies out there right now that are trying to get your brand mentioned on these citations for a pay-to-play model, which is essentially very similar to basic link building practices. What are your thoughts?
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I guess I didn't really realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's happening a lot lately. I won't name names, but there's some couple of companies out there that are doing that right now, which is really interesting to see. And what we are seeing, well, I did shout out to James over at Citation Labs. Garrett runs that company over there, has been in the SEO industry for a long time, and they're doing a little bit of that, but they're really mindful of the quality aspect. Because a lot of these citations or listicles are pretty terrible and will take anyone. So I think there's just a level of honesty and quality. So anyway,
so
go ahead.
I have maybe something that would be interesting to people about listicles. So like, I'm not trying to like make myself sound like I see the future, but like literally in probably 19, I had this personal injury client and we just weren't breaking through. Like they were in Houston. It's so competitive. Houston personal injury lawyers, Houston car accident lawyers, everybody wants to rank. And I was just banging my head against my desk one day and I did a search and I was like, everything that's ranking is like a directory site, right? It's like all these lawyer directories are what ranks for the stuff. So like out of 10 results on the first page, like 7 are like a lawyer directory. And I was like, I wonder what would happen if we put a blog post on my client's site that said, here are the best personal injury lawyers in Houston, not named us, right? Like what if we were just the directory? Like what if we just made a list of who the best personal injury lawyers are? And they wouldn't do it. The client wouldn't do it because they were like, no, we're not going to like list competitors on our website. And like, we're not going to do that. So I was like, fine. And then I like took the idea to another client who was less discerning. And they were like, yeah, sure. Give it a try. And so this client was in Dallas. And so what I did was, because everything starts with the best intentions. So I got on the phone with the client and he dictated to me all these lawyers that he knew personally and had long like experiences with who were really good personal injury lawyers in Dallas. He dictated all that to me. I transcribed it. You know, we made it pretty, put it up on their site. And in like a week, that thing ranked for best personal injury lawyers in Dallas.
Wow.
Like a week. Yeah. And so like the paradigm shift in my head was like, what we've always done to try to rank for that is like optimize the homepage or like optimize like a practice area service page or whatever. And just optimize the ever living shit out of it, add all the content, add all the FAQs, blast it with links, just like, you know, and tell the client like this is going to take at least a year to rank and blah, blah, blah. And now I just like put up this blog post that actually addresses the query, right? Because like a practice area page that just talks about like yourself and says, here's what we do for our clients, doesn't actually address the query personal injury lawyers in Dallas. If I search that, I want a list. I want like a comparison. I want to know who they are. And so by putting up this blog post, like we actually like satisfied that query and Google ranked it right away with no links or anything. And they got cases from it. Now, we didn't do a couple of things at first. We didn't do this at scale, right? So we didn't say like, oh, now let's do this for every city and every practice area. Exactly. And we also didn't list them as the number one firm. We were like soft. We were gentler than that. We were like, hey, as long as they're on our website, we can like throw in a CTA and be like, call us. But we only talked about the other firms and it ranked like crazy. And then we did devolve and we did what SEOs do and we scaled it out. And so the content got worse and we made too much of it. And so the value declined and we started listing them first on there. And like, then it got worse. And so anyways, the point being that was like 6-7 years ago. And that worked for a long time. And then actually it works less good now with AI. But in a lot of cases, I actually see my clients being cited from those listicles that we put out for them. So like, it's an example of a couple of things. One, you have to be careful with your SEO strategies. And two, spam to me in the SEO world or like low quality or whatever you want to call it is not so much about the tactic as it is about the execution of the tactic. Right. Because when I did an interview with my client to get this really, really good information about these really good lawyers in Dallas, that was a really good piece of content that would have helped people. And it did help people. And like it was non-commodity. Right. It gave the insight from the subject matter expert. He was giving anecdotes about the various lawyers. Like it was really good. But as soon as you scale that and you bring it into the world of commodity content and you kind of you lose perspective on why that's valuable and you just do it for the clicks and do it for the rankings, that's when it kind of becomes spam. So anyways, I don't really know how I got there, but I think it's an interesting sort of anecdote that highlights how we have to be careful with the content that we create because it can quickly go from something that's productive and genuine and degraded to the opposite of that. And I think like a lot of companies are experiencing that now with what they've done with their AI content and things like that.
Let's talk. I mean, it's still in the same vein. This is the great stuff in terms of, I love that story breakdown because I love that just the flexibility that one client didn't give you. The other one's like, okay, let's test it out. We trust you. So I think that's a pretty cool win, honestly. And a lot of, in our articles or for B2B SaaS and other companies, they're incredibly reluctant to create versus content, which we know does incredibly well, especially for the kind of lower research stages of consideration to decision potentially. Matt, how are you guys educating? Obviously with Google is clearly the dominant in terms of AI related engagement, specifically with AI overviews. It's not even close when it comes to, compare it against Claude and ChatGPT. Yes, they're siphoning traffic or rather engagement, but AI overviews is incredibly dominant. And for a variety of queries, it's you're essentially ranking, right, in position 0. You're maybe getting the citation, but you're 100% not getting the click. And it reminds me, it's an old reference, but obviously the answer box when that first came out, the featured snippet, and it was like everyone's freaking out, right? Impressions are going up, but clicks are going down. What's the deal? Google saying it's valuable, it's placing value add to publishers, but is it? So how are you educating your clients around SEO is not dead, one? And it's still worth it. And even though our traffic is going down significantly and clicks are going down as well, how are you educating your clients around that and how KPIs are shifting and what they really should be fixating on?
Yeah. Well, it's not easy because, in general, in my career, traffic has correlated with the end outcome that we want, which is more leads, more new business from this channel.
Exactly.
And so it's like, it's valid to be concerned about it. And so I try to do two things. One is like, look at the bottom line. Like if you have a page that accounted for 20% of your organic search traffic, and maybe it got 10,000 hits a month and it's down to 5, that's panic inducing. But then go look at like the leads you're getting from that page. And so that's like, it shows the importance of like really robust tracking. It's like, what happened to that? So even though half the amount of people are getting there, are the people who are getting there still like the people who are ready to pull the trigger and do the thing you want them to do? And you might find that like, okay, traffic's down 50%, but the leads are down 10%. Like still not ideal. You don't want your leads down 10%, but like the delta isn't as large as you might think it would be. So that's like one way. And then like in terms of looking at the AI tools, because I think one of the things you were referencing is like Google's still king. A lot of people talk about like you got to be visible on ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these different things, and it's something to have on your radar for sure. But like Rand Fishkin put out a study where he cited something that like when you consider AI overviews, like Google is like there's nobody close in terms of like usage rates for LLMs. Like it's not a close match. And so like to like obsess over being mentioned on ChatGPT or whatever, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not borne out in the data. And like us SEOs have a long history of saying that. And so that should be looked at skeptically because we have a interest in like making people think that search is really important. But like the data is the data. And just like not that many people are using ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever, as compared to Google. So like the AI layer in Google, if you're concerned about being mentioned by AI, that the AI overviews or the AI mode is really what you should be concerned about first and foremost.
Matt, talk to us about just your feelings on the newfound acronyms. I know they seem to change every other week from GEO to AEO. It's, I've been hearing some wild ones lately. It seems like the SEO community just can't figure it out. And, is this really SEO? Is it not? What's your take? Are you all in on some of the new kind of acronyms and habits, Or are you more like, okay, we need to stick to our guns on foundational SEO? Yes, keep these in mind, but ultimately we're going to prioritize what we know that what works. What are your thoughts?
I think GEO is the especially dumb one, because like it's geo, and geo already has so many like other meanings. Like it's like normally geo is like referencing like something spatial, like in reference to location. And so like just from a purely like critical standpoint of like the semantics of it, I think that one's really bad. But in terms of like what I care about is what works. You know, what do people in the real world do to buy something? And in my work, it's like, what do people do to hire a lawyer? That's what I care about. And I know a lot of them go onto Google and they either search something informational, like, am I going to go to jail for this? Or they know they need a lawyer. And so they search who are the best ones or who's closest to me or whatever. I know they do that. And so then I look at like, what does Google show them? And what Google shows them are a bunch of ads. They show them an AI overview. They show them a Google map pack. They show traditional results below that. And so then I say, okay, how do I get into those places? And so like, that's how I approach it. It's not so much like, should we do SEO or do AEO or do like whatever? It's like, start with the first principle. How do people buy the thing that I'm selling? And then how do I like insert myself there? And then, you know, in terms of like the answer results themselves, we just know that for the most part, these systems are using like the RAG retrieval process. And that has to do with like searching a bunch of keywords all at once in like a query fan out, and then more or less just like curating response based on everything that's in a search index and serving it up. And so like I don't see how you could make any other argument other than just like being ranked good in the search engine is also how to be like referenced in the AI response. To me, the difference is like what you're looking at, like what you're measuring, like what you're tracking. It's not so much like the things that you're actually doing to get there. So if your assessment of like, how do people buy the thing we're selling is, oh, they look at an AI answer and then they like click through to a website, or then they Google the brand names of some of the top ones or whatever, then you can say, okay, it makes sense for us to try to be listed there. And now you can look into the ways to do that, which tend to dovetail with the same ways to be, you know, suggested in regular search results or local results or whatever.
Let me know if this resonates with you, because SEO to me, or the GEO and AEO components, it reminds me of everything we've always wanted to do for clients. But there's two main constraints. It's budget or team member constraints in terms of time allocation and resource allocation on the client's end. Content distribution, content diversification, PR integration, statisticals, SME work. I mean, come on, you know, this is stuff that in a perfect world, we've been doing all of this already. That are 100% influential with large language models. Reviews, like I don't know if you've heard of those, Matt, but those are apparently really influential. It's like come on, right? You know, and we were seeing this over the last couple of years of these pundits like repackaging, like this is the how to rank or how to get cited in LLMs, and it's like reviews, like what? Like come on, you know, and like little things. It's like, oh, that's you. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's just fun. It's funny what's going on, and you know,
I think as much as you can make it seem like human beings recommend your business, like that is always a good way to get more business. Like if I feel like I know a company because somebody has told me that they had an experience with that company, I'm going with them. Like if I need a plumber and somebody's like, and my neighbor's like, oh, well, we just use this plumber, he was great, I'm using them. I'm not going on Google, right? Yeah. And so like the more that you can develop that sort of thing online, and that has nothing to do with technology. That's just like good old fashioned marketing. Make people trust you because other people said you were good. So like do things that do that. And I think you'll be also cited in AI overviews.
Yep. You heard it here first. Reviews. Hey, let's wrap things up here, Matt. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, man. And I'm looking forward to getting a part 2, maybe part 3, 4. Maybe Matt will be a recurring guest here. He's got some passion, and we want to get that out of him. Let's. I know you didn't make any mistakes building Juris Digital, not one. Neither did we at Session, of course not. But what you know now, I know this is kind of a loaded question. What's the first thing you'd do differently if you started? You got all this knowledge, you hadn't started Juris, you started it today. What's the one thing you'd do differently?
Oh God,
you on the spot here.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably would have. Even though we already talked about how we're a niche, I probably would have made our services even more niched. Like I get jealous sometimes when I look at companies who like do such a well-defined thing. Like SEO, like what we kind of talk about, what we do is like we help law firms grow online. That there's like a bunch of stuff you can do to achieve that goal. And so then you could say like, oh, your niche is like organic search. Like, but like to accomplish that still requires like a whole lot, like expertise across a ton of disciplines to like succeed in organic search. And that's difficult. Do you know Joel Klecki? He's like he was an SEO guy, and then he went into like copywriting. He's a brilliant copywriter. He started this business called Case Study Buddy. And all they did was like, they helped companies produce client success stories. And I was so jealous of that business because I was like, that just seems so well defined. And like, it's in such a lane where like, you can just set up your system and your process. And this is what we do. And it's also like sticky because you can't just like create 2 customer success stories and then you're done. Like you have to keep doing it over time to like show people relevance and stuff. And so I was really jealous of that business. And so like, I think that's what I would do different. I would almost pick like a micro like section of organic marketing or of content production or whatever, and really like drill into that. But that also just speaks to my own brain. I can't multitask or think about very many things at once. So that's probably what I would do different.
That's a good thing, though. I think no one can truly multitask, right?
That's true. Except my wife.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Great to see you, man. I really appreciate your time. Where can people interact and engage with you? LinkedIn? Give me a website. We'll go there. TikTok.
Yeah, I'm posting on LinkedIn a lot, probably an obnoxious amount. I post on TikTok every now and then. Sometimes I post what I posted on TikTok on LinkedIn, but TikTok and LinkedIn are like the main places that I kind of talk online. And then the Juris Digital blog, I publish on a decent amount as well. So it's just jurisdigital.com. You can catch my stuff there too.
Yeah. Check Matt out and check Casey out.
Oh, wait. I also have a newsletter.
Yes. Okay.
So if you go on LinkedIn, you'll see view my newsletter, and I do a newsletter. And in my newsletter, I often give like book recommendations, TV recommendations, because as much as like I want to make money in my business, what I value way more than that is being known as somebody who has good taste when it comes to most things, especially music, literature, TV. Yes. So if no other reason, you should subscribe to that.
I love it. Yes. Superior taste. As you can see within the background, the dog, the art, it doesn't get much better than that.
It's very important to my self-worth.
100%. Matt, thanks again, man. I appreciate it. We're going to have you back on here soon enough. We'll chat. Thanks.
Thanks, Tyler. It's fun. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.